Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Cannon and Jonzey All Euro Show. We're officially in our fifth day of the Euros, and actually, to be honest, I've been quite impressed in terms of the quality of the games, the entertainment shown, and we're going to discuss all that tonight and plenty much more in terms of our usual segments. I'm sure there'll be some banter, and we'll definitely be talking about Scotland because they always get battered wherever they go. So firstly and foremostly, good evening to my co-host Jonzey. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, mate. Not too bad. Weather's picked up, which is good, and football's on the telly. So what else could you want in life at the moment?
Exactly. Exactly. Three games every day. You can't go wrong, can you?
Exactly.
And there was an absolute cracker the game before the Portugal game against Turkey and Georgia. Absolutely brilliant game. I think that's my most enjoyable game of the Euro so far.
I need to see that. I've missed it this afternoon.
Snooze you lose, mate. Snooze you lose.
Football club with the kids, mate.
Oh, painful. And a good evening and a debut to Cole. So welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Liam. Much appreciated, mate. Big up, Jonzey. I hope you're doing well, mate. Yeah, I'm all good. I've been watching the Euros over the last few days or so. Some absolute cracking matches, to say the least. And then we get to our game, which I'm glad that game was on at 8:00 at night because I got back from Scotland on Sunday and I was just so tired. I think I fell asleep watching that game, if I'm honest. But we'll deep dive into that more. But yeah, overall, everything, life is good. The sun's shining, you know. And what more could be better right now?
Well, yeah, it's definitely much better than what it was Saturday afternoon. I can assure you that much. The rain was absolutely torrential. There was a bar party at a certain household, and many drinks were drunk, weren't they, Jonzey?
Many drinks were drunk. Many saw has to be had the next day. To be honest, I'm still recovering now. I'm too old now.
I think I am as well, mate, to be honest. Yeah. Good evening, and obviously welcome to our to our guests, obviously, as we just introduced them. Obviously, good evening to Mr. Tom as well. He's in the house already. Great commitment there, mate. Hope you're well. So obviously, what we're going to do before we go into any segments, we're going to rewind back to Sunday evening, where England faced their first game of the Euros 2024 against Serbia, 8 p.m. kickoff. Going into the game, Cole, what was your kind of thought process? Obviously, not a great audition for, pre Euros with Iceland, but was you quite confident that we'd get the victory and a performance with it?
I would think I was quite confident we'd get the victory, but I wasn't confident in how we would get this victory because England never make it very easy for us to watch, do they? Especially in the first game of the Euros. I think this will be the second time in European Championship history that we've actually won our first game of the group stage, if I'm not mistaken. The lineup was what I pretty much would predict. We know Luke Shaw is out injured until the knockout stages. So we knew Trippier would play at left back. You know, you expected that your lineup is up there. Bellingham, as you say, playing as the number 10 Bellingham was just simply unplayable in that game. He's just so good on the ball. The disappointment for me out of all of that was the fact that everyone bangs on about how brilliant of a player Phil Foden is. For Man City, yeah, absolutely. I cannot recall one competitive game, whether it's a World Cup or a European Championship, where Phil Foden has actually had a standout game. I can't recall. And just watching that game, watching his movement, it just felt like he looked lost on that left-hand side. We know he predominantly plays as a number 10 for Man City. Any manager with any sort of tactical, aggressive nous about them would have actually said to probably Bellingham and Phil, you two need to interchange each other because I know you both play as a number 10, but you, Bellingham, you have a more of a free roaming role at Real Madrid. So free roll, let Foden put your position, you move to the left sometimes, let's see if we could try and make it work. Because here's what you do. If you have those two interchange with each other, the defense have got to pay more attention to that side. And what happens? You leave Saka one-on-one with the fullback. Damage happens when you leave Saka one-on-one.
Yep.
And, it's all rocket science to work out with this England team. It's one of the most talented group of individuals I've ever seen. I've ever seen since probably since Euro '96. But the thing is, this manager is not going to take us to the promised land. He almost did, and then the little less said about that, the better. I just feel like any aggressive manager would have just said to the team, go out and express yourself. And I guarantee you probably beat Serbia probably 4 or 5-0. Because until they came on to us in the second half, they showed absolutely nothing.
Well, yeah, I think there's some good points there. I think definitely in the first half, especially the first 15, 20 minutes, do you know what? I was thinking it was like watching a bit of an Arsenal game at times, or Man City, in terms of we had all the ball, we were literally pinned in our own half. And when we scored, like after 10 minutes, I thought, you know what? This might be an easier game than I thought it'd be. But it was typical England, wasn't it? Go 1-0 up, start really well, and then go into our shells. And I think regarding Phil Foden, and I've got quite a bit to say about Phil Foden, but it takes me back to the Gerrard and Lampard days, Paul Scholes, when we ended up trying to play Paul Scholes on the left-hand side, and it just did not work. Do you know what I mean? Because that is not his position. Now, obviously, it's a different system, and I think there's more chance of it working with Phil Foden. And I think you're right. I think he needs to obviously work on how he's going to get the best out of Phil Foden and Bellingham in terms of them two positions. But for me, Phil Foden for Manchester City would never dare put in a performance like he did on Sunday. He was just so slapdash, like he couldn't even make a 5-yard pass at times. And you watch Man City, he doesn't play like that ever. And I'm not buying that. Yeah, okay, he's got Bernardinho, Kevin De Bruyne, Eric Haaland beside him, because he knows how to perform. He knows how to single-handedly win games for Manchester City. So the excuse that he hasn't got them around him, I just think it's total bullshit. I think it's like he's too scared. For me, it's like he's scared. Is there a mental barrier here with Phil Foden with England, or is it that Southgate cannot manage the player and does not know how to get the best out of him?
I think it's more of the latter than it is the former. If I'm honest with you, I just think, and you are spot on there. We do have another Lampard-Gerrard situation. You got the same type of player, and you're trying to squeeze both of them in.
Yeah,
and one of them into their actual position, and then one of them in their not position. Now you wonder why we kind of lose that battle on the left or the right side of the midfield. It's not hard to work out, and the fact remains he played the full 94, 95 minutes. The substitutions were okay. The Bowen one was a bit of a head scratcher, but he was actually nearly the catalyst who actually got us nearly got us a second goal. So you have to put that into consideration. But I'm just thinking to myself, Foden's not doing anything on the left-hand side. Go more direct. Put Eze on there. Put Cole Palmer on there. Palmer on that left would put that on that left-hand side. He'll do damage. He does damage coming off the bench. And people say, you got Anthony Gordon there as well. I said at the time Saka was doing okay until he got subbed. But I just feel like with Foden, we're trying to put all the best players that we've got all into one formation, and there's going to be 2 or 3 players that are not quite situated in that position. Kieran Trippier is not a left back. He plays predominantly right back at Newcastle. Alexander-Arnold is not a deep lining defensive midfielder. Neither is Declan Rice for that matter, but I think Declan Rice is more better as an advanced number 8 box-to-box midfielder than he is as a holding number 6. And then obviously you got Phil Foden playing on that left-hand side. Southgate trying to put all this in, and I think why he probably put Trent Alexander-Arnold in that midfield was because of Mainu's performance against Iceland. He wasn't at fault for the goal, but he was part of that midfield that absolutely crumbled for that ball to get through to the back line. The back line was a mess. Carl Walker was not in line with his centre halves, so that's why we freaking lost that game. But I just feel like when Conor Gallagher come on, it felt like that midfield was a little bit more assertive. I mean, I don't like Conor Gallagher. I don't rate him at all. But he will he will roll his sleeves up. He will graft. He will do a job for you. He's not slick on the ball, but he's a very good passer on the ball. And I feel like at that point, it just felt like we were just going through the emotions. So like we do this all the time. We score one goal and then we try and sit back and defend. You've got all this firepower at your disposal, and yet we managed, what was it, 3 shots on target all game?
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
I think I've got the stats here. Here they are. Word.
Yeah, 3 shots on target. There we go.
Yeah.
Like if I go to you, Jonzey, on these kind of stats, like like to be honest, I'm quite disappointed in terms of possession really in the day, because I think if you look at the first 20 minutes, I think they would at least been 75-25, and I think that shows you, right, like how much in the second half that we crumbled again, and it has, for me, it has to stem from the manager. Do you know what I mean? Because the amount of times that I've seen now England go 1-0 up. Now I know what Gareth Southgate's all about in the group stages. He wants to win the group stage games, which I totally get. I totally get that. It's important to just get that first win under your belt. It releases a bit of pressure. I totally get that. But this Serbia team, after 10 minutes, were there for the taking. Do you know what I mean? And we're talking about players that perform week in, week out in the Premier League. So when you start looking at the players like your Sakas, like your Fodens, you had your Harry Kane's obviously done it at Spurs, he's doing it at Bayern Munich, and he totally goes missing when he plays for England. This ain't the first or second time Kane's gone totally missing as well. And we get to a point, don't we, where we just expect the same thing to happen again and again now. And my concern is it's papered over the cracks a little bit on Sunday. We got the win, which is the most important thing. But what happens when we come up against Portugal, where they've got absolute bags of pace to hit you on the counter attack? What happens when we pull up against France, where they've got they've got a serious amount of players, including probably the best player in the world in Mbappe? What happens when we come up against the hosts, Germany, that, let's be honest, look really, really good against Scotland? I know it's Scotland are not at that caliber level, but you still got to go out there and beat that Scotland team, and they look like that they could, with the home fans as well, they're going to be a massive threat. Have I got faith that they'll go and beat any of them teams in a knockout game? If I'm being totally honest with you, every team I've said there, I've got no faith whatsoever that Gareth Southgate can tactically get it right to beat these teams.
Yeah, well, you said we know what happens when we play them. We know what happens. We saw it with Italy, didn't we, in the final a few years ago? I agree with you, both of you guys. It just seems like we get the lead, we do well in the game, and then he shits the bed. He don't know what to do. It doesn't feel like he's the sort of manager that knows how to smash a team. You know what I mean? Like send a team out there to just attack, and put them away. He's reminds me of an old school, Tony Pulis, Sam Allardyce. He's that sort of style manager, isn't he? Just go 1-0 up and then just get every man behind the ball. And you can't do that. You can't do that in these sorts of tournaments. And especially with England, the players that we've got, they're not suited for that either. It's just, I agree with Carl. We mentioned it off stream. I fell asleep second half. It was just dire. It literally was watching paint dry on a wall. This is Southgate football, though. We're accustomed to it now. We've seen it. And I still can't get over the final. I will not let that lie. This guy should not be in that job, but he is. We've got to deal with it. But like you say, he's got to change some sort of tactics there, because we come up against even Denmark. I don't think we can even do that against Denmark. They're not the higher quality caliber players that you were talking about with Mbappe's and Ronaldo's and all them. But, they could do a job. They could turn it around. And what's Southgate's plan B? There isn't one. We've seen it.
Yeah, I'm just want to say some good evening. So good evening, Tony. Going with some good content in there already, mate. Good evening to Ryan. How you doing? Good evening, G, over in Spain. Good commitment that is. Hope you're enjoying them beers. Make sure you have a few for us, or not just one. And good evening to Russ as well. I think just staying with you a minute, Jonzey. Obviously, in terms of a point that Cole raised that I just want to speak to you about, which is that centre midfield role. We know Declan Rice is going to play at number 6 because if we're being frankly honest, the only other player, in my opinion, that can play number 6 for England at the moment plays centre back in Jonzey, and we ain't going to be taking him out of there. So we know Rice plays at 6. We know Bellingham's going to play at 10, which for me is not an issue. But this right hand side where Trent Arnold fulfilled for me is a massive issue. Now, Trent Arnold plays right back for his club. Mm-hmm. He doesn't play any other position for Liverpool. He doesn't play any other position for Liverpool whatsoever. Okay, the guy can play out and play like a fullback, like who can bomb on. He probably can invert as well, to be honest. But we're talking about a guy that's never played a serious amount of games in centre midfield for his club. So what I don't get is, right, why have we started just before we get to a tournament to decide that Trent Arnold's the answer? I actually agree with you, Cole. Conor Gallagher, for me, probably could start, but is he good enough? When he come on the other night, I weren't really impressed, if I'm being totally honest. I didn't sit there and think, do you know what? Yeah, he come on and he done a great job. Yeah, he busted his lungs for 15, 20 minutes. But is that really enough? Do you know what I mean? Adam Walton, we haven't really seen him at the moment, but do you know what I mean? He sneaked in the back door with his performances at Palace, but can I see him getting chucked into this tournament without no experience? Absolutely not. And I even think Eze is pretty much on the same wavelength as well, that he's come back from a long injury. He's got in because of his form at Crystal Palace. But yet again, he has hardly played for England whatsoever. So when you start looking at that midfield and start digesting it, what options has he actually got at present in terms of that centre midfield role? And could he potentially play Declan in a number 6 against the lesser teams and play Foden and Bellingham in an advanced role, essentially, with maybe potentially moving a ball out wide?
The only way you could possibly do that is if you switch the formation to what Manchester City use, which is a 3-2-4-1. Because your midfield 4 could be Saka on the right, you've got Bellingham one side of the midfield, you've got Foden on the other side of the middle of the midfield, and then on the left you've got your pick of Anthony Gordon, Eze. Imagine Eze and Saka bombing off the wings on both sides, with Foden and Bellingham as their outlets. Kane being the goal poaching finisher. I'm glad I bumped onto Harry Kane actually, because he also had a terrible game as well. Too many times he came back deep. In that second half, Serbia were coming on to us. I'm looking at it thinking, apart from the header, Kane has done barely next to nothing all game. You know what this screams out for? It screams out for Ollie Watkins.
Ollie Watkins, yeah.
One ball over the top, beat the last man. But they won't take Kane off because he is obviously the face of this he is the face of this nation. We won't take him off. And I think sometimes as a manager, you need to be ruthless. This is not just, if this was a friendly, then he would take him off and put Ollie Watkins on or something. But this is a European Championship. This is a big tournament. We know there is no excuse for us as a nation if we don't win it this year. We've got all the talent at our disposal. We made the final. Okay, it was the COVID year, but that doesn't matter. We still made the final regardless.
Can we play the free at the back? Can we play the free?
I mean, you can, but do you really trust Lewis Dunk? That's the question. Because then your defensive three would end up being John Stones, Mark Gahey, and Lewis Dunk. If Maguire was fit, Maguire would be playing on that in the middle of that 3-line defence.
And this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem that in my opinion, the Ben White situation should have been resolved. I don't know if it is who's absolute to blame, but when you have a player that good and he offers you different alternatives in terms of how you play a system, Ben White would have been absolutely ideal now in terms of if you wanted to revert back to a 3, you could have then potentially had a Ben White, John Stones, Guahi back 3, which Ben White would be quite naturally suited to. but it's yet again, isn't it? It's like we hear all this good stuff about what Southgate's done, and to be fair, initially, what Southgate did do was bring good harmony to the squad. But over this last year, it seems to be flipping for me. Like you see the way he kind of dealt with the Ben White situation. You look at the Maddison situation in terms of that potentially and allegedly. He was still going to wanted him to play in the game leading up to the Euros, Iceland, even though he weren't going to go. Like, for me, that's pretty disrespectful. Like, why would a player want to go out and go out to Wembley in an atmosphere which should have been a good vibe atmosphere with sending off the players to the Euros, which ended up being totally opposite. But why would you send a player out there who's not going to play in the tournament whatsoever because you don't think he's good enough to be in that 26? And then you look at the Jack Grealish situation as well, where I feel a little bit with Jack Grealish. I do sympathise with him a little bit because, yes, he hasn't had a great season. But if you're looking at a player in the last 20 minutes, if you want to flip a game on his head and change a game, he's still got that calibre. He's still got that potential. And you're probably looking at Marcus Rashford now as well, another player that hasn't performed this season. Probably he can't have too much to complain. But you're going to sit there and think there's potentially going to be kind of a bit of disheartened there as well. So it looks to me there was a lot of change in the last minute.
Yeah.
And he should have managed that and phased that out because we all know Jack Grealish weren't playing football in January. We all knew Marcus Rashford weren't playing football that much in January. Do you know what I mean? So why did it take us to end of May to realise that we didn't want to take these players to the Euros and stop playing these players? Because for me, we've not built up to this tournament good whatsoever. And when you look at our form over the last 6 months, it's been very patchy, to say at the least. Like the Brazil game for me was disappointing at home. The Iceland game was disgraceful, in my opinion. There was other games factored in between that we didn't win. I think we didn't win our last game in the qualifiers. Was it Macedonia, something like that? Why wasn't he planning at this point? Why was he not planning from December? Why did it take him to May to drop all these bombshells?
I've got no idea. The guy is literally, it is like he's just panicked, doesn't he? And he goes, I better not take this person because they're not playing well, so I'll just take this person. That's what it feels like. It feels like, you know what it does feel like? He's put his hand in the hat. And that's what that squad reminds me of. He just put his hand in.
Reactive manager.
Yeah.
He is a reactive manager, not a proactive one. A proactive one would have actually planned it a lot more ahead for like Grealish. I know you're injured, but you still know how to do a job for us. Even if it and Liam, you're absolutely spot on with Grealish because you stick him on for the final 20 minutes. Yes, he's not flashy or speedy, but you know what he does for you? He puts you in positions where you can actually get that ball into the box via a free kick, i.e., he will take fouls. He is what you call in this industry of football as a shithouse. He is what I call a shithouse player. That's who Jack Grealish is. And especially if you're playing against these other European countries who basically have got players that have got very, very short fuses, Grealish is the perfect condiment, shall we say, to put us in a proper position there. But
he would have had about 10 plus fouls, wouldn't he, against Serbia, Jack Grealish?
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%. It's just I don't know what he thinks about like coming into this tournament.
The Rashford one, I'm not so against with because he has barely played all season. Rashford. And I always feel like he's got his head somewhere else. If your head's not in the game, you're certainly not going to end up playing for England in the Euros.
See, I have a weird opinion on Rashford. I totally agree that he don't deserve to naturally go. But I do think Rashford is a match winner, and I do think he's another player that potentially, if you needed a change in the last 20 minutes, I think he's going to give you that. Now, Eze, for me, is a special player. I like Eze quite a lot. Now, yet again, he's probably another player who should be like a number 10, which then says to me that why are we not creating this kind of tactical formation? But like, obviously, we can't create it right now. But coming out of this, especially coming out of these Euros, I think we really need to look at how we move forward to try and get the best out of people like Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Saka, maybe someone on the left-hand side. If you got fully fit Rashford and you got fully focused Rashford, for me, he goes out on the left-hand side. He goes out on the left-hand side all day long. You see in the cup final against Manchester United that, as I said, he was on the absolute edge of everything, and you knew he's got the beating of that defence, and when he gets behind them, there is no going back. So for me, he doesn't deserve to go to the Euros, but do you know what? He is a player potentially still. Now, Anthony Gordon, I think he potentially, he's not a starter again. I like him, and I think he's a good player to come on in the last 20 minutes. And yet again, why do we bring him on in that last 20 minutes? We needed someone to go direct in the last 20 minutes, get the ball upfield and get it up there quickly. But what we did was we left Phil Foden on, who was having an absolute nightmare anyway. He was just giving the ball away, and then we were chasing back all the time. So, yeah, again, I don't think Anthony Gordon, for me, is a starter, but I think he's definitely a good player to come off the bench. But you hit it on the head, Cole. We literally got no left-hand side players, and that is a major, major issue at present. I believe it's still a major issue coming out the group stages. I don't see how Luke Shaw plays football, if I'm being totally honest with you. How can you chuck Luke Shaw into left back going into a second round or a quarter-final game in the European Championships, who's not played no football season?
Well, you would have took a Chilwell. Well, you would have took a Chilwell, but unfortunately, he's as injury prone as Luke Shaw is. So it's the best. It's the best availability, unfortunately. Unfortunately, Luke Shaw is not available because he's injured. It just makes no sense. I mean, I can't think of another English left back in the Premier League. I'm sure you two will be able to find one for me.
Tyrick Mitchell.
Tyrick Mitchell, he could have possibly have gone.
But we didn't even see him. It's not. He got called up for the England squad. We didn't even see him play for England. We played without a left back for nearly a whole season. And we didn't get to see him once play at a natural left back, play at left back. Now, I know he's probably not the greatest of left backs, but I think he's a good Premier League left back. He plays for his club, like he's season in, season out. Surely, naturally, in my opinion, we'd have been better off taking a right back in Cole Walker, play Trippier at right back as well, who can play at left back, and then take two left backs.
Yeah.
Or you go with the formation that I use, and you could have gone with freaking Stones as the main man in the middle. Then you got Mark Gay on the left side of it, and on the right side you have Carl Walker. Gay's actually got good pace. Carl Walker, we know he's rapid.
Yeah.
So why could we not go like that? Why could we not go like that?
2 words: Gareth Southgate.
Yeah. 100%.
Just got a few. Just come in. Obviously, Tony saying he would have took Rashford. Classy Arsenal saying Tyrick Mitchell and Rico Henry would have done a job at left back for England.
Rico Henry,
G saying Mitchell is class, in my opinion. I think he's a good left back. I don't actually think he's great going forward, but let's be honest. Kieran Trippier is not going to get at his age. He's not going to bomb forward either. So it worries me when you're playing a left back and a left winger that are not got no experience really of playing on the left-hand side. And at some point when you come up against quality right wing players. Now, if I was a France manager or a Germany manager, I'd be absolutely flooding that right-hand side, getting my best players out on that right-hand side.
Yep.
Well, they will. If we play them, they will. Mbappe plays over that side.
And it's not even like we got a naturally left centre-sided centre back in centre defence either. No. So I don't know if Luke Shaw come back. I find it quite hard to see how you can chuck a guy who's not played no football into a tournament. I think Kieran Trippier will potentially stay there for the tournament now. But
the thing was over Luke Shaw. Apparently, there was rumours going around that apparently he wasn't as injured as what everyone made him out to be. Apparently, there was a bit of a disagreement between him and the club itself with the club doctors. And apparently, his injury weren't as bad, but they left him. But Ten Hag left him out for reasons which even I can't really understand, to be honest with you. Not how true it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
how true it is. I mean, I don't know anything about Man United's situation. They're in the mud anyway. But at the end of the day, we've only got one left back in there, and that is Luke Shaw. You never know. He's either going to play in the last 16 and get injured within 10 minutes because obviously he hasn't played any football, or he's going to turn into it, or he's going to completely flip the script, turn into prime Luke Shaw, who knows he's one of the best left backs in the world, and completely bosses that left hand side and gives Foden all the space and the help that he needs.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Classy Arsenal saying even Wan-Bissaka would have been better than Trippier to take as he's been playing in 30 wing back for United. I think, again, he's another player, isn't he? He's very good defensively. But I'll say it again. Probably not the best going forward, but you ain't going to expect that from Kieran Trippier at his age either. No. Looking ahead, though, into the Denmark game, three more points and we are through, which would be obviously the first objective achieved. Do you think Denmark can cause us any problems, Jonzey?
It's Gareth Southgate, isn't it? It's his teams. They probably will.
Naturally, shouldn't they? Should they really?
When you look
at their squad and you look at our squad, naturally we should turn up, and it won't be like a mauling, but you'd expect a routine 3 points.
You'd expect it, but maybe it's just a hangover from what we saw on Sunday. It might be a little bit. They might play into themselves, the players, and it might be a bit more confident. But I just feel we've seen, so far in this tournament, there's been big score lines. Like there's been tons and tons of goals. It'd be interesting to see how we line up if he goes with anything different. In my eyes, Trent and Foden shouldn't start the game on Thursday. It'd be nice to see someone else in there, maybe Palmer start on the left, and maybe, Gallagher, I know we've mentioned him, or even the young lad from Man United. I know people are saying a bit too quick for him. Yeah, Mainu to start. Could free up Declan Rice a bit more, you never know, but it should be comfortable. It should, but, we've been here. Us three guys have probably seen as much England heartbreak as everyone in the chat, do you know what I mean? So we've been here before. Things can happen, but it should be routine. It should be comfortable. It would be if that guy wasn't in charge. That's what I say.
And going over to you, Cole, are you confident we can get the 3 points on Thursday?
I think of all the teams in our group, I think Denmark is the one that I'm a little bit more concerned about. We did beat them on the way to the final the last time round. They did cause us some problems. They've got good players. They've got Man United's Rasmus Højlund, who unfortunately dropped a stinker against Slovenia. Didn't play that very well. You got like Christian Eriksen, Pierre Højbjerg, backline of Vestergaard and Christensen. Plus they've got Kasper Schmeichel in goal. They've got some good players in there, and the thing is with these other European countries, they can be very unpredictable. You don't know if they're going to come out and attack you. You don't know if they're going to just sit back, soak up pressure, play counter-attacking football. We got absolutely no idea. All I know is that us getting through against Serbia is one thing. There has got to be a better performance. A win is still the be all and end all. It's still the one thing you need at the end of the day. But you've got to start progressing better in games, because if we get to the knockout stage, we continue to play like we done against Serbia, we ain't making. I'll go as far. We ain't even making the semi-finals.
No.
You know what? The way I look at it is we won 1-0, France won 1-0, but the way France won 1-0 is completely the opposite to how we done it. They still created chances. They still were dominant in the game. We just shut up shop after 1-0, and then we always paid the price. We've seen it time and time again. The team that goes 1-0 up and shits their pants, it comes back to bite them in the arse.
France had 6 shots. Yeah, France had 6 shots on target yesterday, but apparently it was 50-50 possession. So, yeah.
They looked more, like you say, on transitioning through the midfield, from the defence midfield, they looked a lot more of a threat than we actually did in that second half. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I think when you look at the game on Thursday, I just looked at our last 2 tournaments. Second game, Scotland 0-0, America 0-0. So naturally, we don't always turn up on our second game like we expect us to. I think we will get the job done on Thursday. If I'm being totally honest, I think that I still think we've got too much about us. Do you know what I mean? I think in these games, I think we'll be at the moment. I see us as a bit like the flat track bullies. Do you know what I mean? I think we will go and beat these teams because I think like there's too much quality in there not to do it, in my opinion. And I know second half we didn't show up, but the first 20, 25 minutes I thought we was absolutely superb. And if you can get Saka playing like he did on Sunday in that first half, if you can get Declan Rice, I thought, and by the way, we hadn't even spoke about Declan Rice yet, but I thought Declan Rice was absolutely superb on Sunday. It was just his tactical awareness, do you know what I mean? Like, he was literally involved in everything that good was happening in terms of, and yeah, you're showing his heat map. I mean, it don't surprise me. If you look at that heat map, it was when he fulfilled in other areas to cover people out. I remember Guayi coming out once and Declan Rice just slipped back in there. He was out on the right-hand side. He was out on the left-hand side. For me, that was a man of the match performance on Sunday. It was pretty much up there with Bellingham. And when we say that Declan Rice naturally is an eight, that heat map basically shows that. Do you know what I mean? Naturally, he is a box-to-box player. Now, we know he can't play that bit for England, sadly, because we haven't got that player to play in there at the moment. But maybe that might change a little bit over the course of the tournament if we can get the young Manchester United lad in there. I just think he will go Trent Arnold again in midfield. I think he will go give him a second chance. I think he'll see how he gets on Thursday. I think we need to see something out of him Thursday. But I just think with the front four that we've got, I think it should just be a little bit too strong. And I think this is the kind of game Kane probably gets a couple of goals, if I'm being totally honest. But what worries me with Harry Kane is he has these games, don't he, where he goes totally missing. And when I look at Harry Kane at Tottenham, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, he never went missing whatsoever. Kane would be absolutely everywhere. Do you know what I mean? But this ain't the first time. This ain't the second time Kane's gone really quiet in a game. And that's what kind of worries me in terms of with him and his performances at times, that he will go out and score 2-3 goals in a game. And I think he'll score on Thursday. He'll probably go and score against Slovakia if he starts. But then we'll get to like a quarter-final or a semi-final against a big club. And then he's not to be seen. And is that because of him? I think it is. I think he has got to take some of the shed of that. I don't think we're too much of the ball to say that, do you know what I mean? We just couldn't get Harry Kane on the ball. He needs to do more, in my opinion. He needs to do much. Like, this should be a tournament that Harry Kane comes out of it, like, as basically trying to, basically, for me, to win player of the tournament.
Yeah.
Like, he's at that age now where he's what's he, 30, 31? He's got so much experience. Okay, he doesn't win trophies, we know that, but let's just take the joke out of it for a minute. Surely he wants to win something with England, and he's never going to get a better chance than now to do that. For me, he needs to step up a little bit more. And when things ain't going our way, as a captain and as a leader, do you know what? Sometimes go against what the manager's telling you.
Yeah.
Go and do something a little bit different. Because I think Patrick Vieira once said it, didn't he? I think he said, like, when things weren't going our way, sometimes I used to go against what the manager was telling me to do. Because I'm the leader on that pitch. I know what's going on that pitch. Harry Kane's the leader on that pitch. If he's not getting the ball, then do you know what? Harry Kane, come back into midfield for it if you have to. Like, Harry Kane's got every attribute to be able to do that. And we've got the players who can play off him and play behind him as well.
This is why Bellingham has a free reign at Real Madrid, because the centre-half does drop off and he can move forward into that number 9 position. So if Kane is going to do that, Bellingham has to be a little bit more, I think in Southgate is just telling all his players, stick in your positions.
Yeah.
Any manager would look at that and go, right, you and Foden interchange. If Harry Kane drops deep, you move forward into the number 9. Mix it up, change it around. The worst thing a defense in football hates more than anything is when you're facing an attacking line and they are changing their players' positions. Because you've got like, I've got to try and defend this guy, and then I've got to move over to this way and this way. You completely mess up the defense. If you ever watch Girona, they do it so bloody well. If you ever watched Girona last season, they did it so well. how they just intertwine with each other and change direction with the ball and even going away from it as well. The back four of those certain teams, they were shitting themselves because it's like, we don't know whether they're coming or going here. And I think England have got that. We've got that flexibility with these players once again, but we go back to the common denominator.
Gareth Southgate.
I have an interesting one for you guys, and I watched it in the first half for England. There was a couple of times when Saka had the ball, and I know because he plays for Arsenal, he was crying for a Ben White. He was crying for a Ben White because obviously Ben White bombs past him. Now, I think this is part of our problem with England is our fullbacks at present. Now, I've got nothing against Cole Walker, but we've got to remember Cole Walker's 34 years old. I've got nothing against Trippier, but he's out of position. He's 33, 34 as well. They're not going to be able to bomb up and down, bomb up and down, bomb up and down. But this team, and I see where you're coming from, Cole, with Luke Shaw, is crying for a fullback to be able to, at times, bomb on. And do you know what? Because when that fullback bombs on, they're potentially the player who's going to put the match-winning cross in. Now, luckily for us, Saka did it on Sunday. But if you watch the way the Premier League plays and the way a lot of our teams play, fullbacks getting beyond their last man and putting balls in has become a natural thing now. And I think Ben White, over the course of, especially last season, I think he's done it better than most, if I'm being totally honest. You look at the Havertz goal against Brentford, absolute prime example of a fullback getting behind and doing what he does. Now, I think Saka and Foden are crying for that, if I'm being totally honest. And maybe Harry Kane is as well in some contents, because what it does is it brings Foden and Saka in, which then obviously occupies space, which then drags centre backs out left, right, and centre, which is what Cole's saying, and then Kane's kind of left a little bit more unmarked. Now, I do think that is part of the problem as well.
No, I agree. We play too narrow when we don't have that. When we don't have that expansion on the wings. We play far too narrow. And when you play narrow, it congests the box, it congests the middle of the field, and you start seeing us playing U-shaped football because you can't get through.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, is it? It's not rocket science.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And
it's a game that it's a simple game made complicated by idiots.
Shall I tell you something, Cole? We've got the perfect player for that. Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah.
Well, right back.
Yeah,
We've got the perfect player. Okay, he's not the best defensive player. I totally get that. But you know what, right? He is going to get you assists. He is going to get down that wing. He is going to cause so much trouble. For me, I'd be playing him there. All day long. And that is a hard decision because obviously what Cole Walker has done. But I want the best for England. I want England to win the Euros. And do I think England win the Euros?
You possibly bring Kyle Walker onto the latter stage of the game if you need to tighten up. Or if you're in the last 16, you go through the extra time and you want someone to take a decent penalty. We know Kyle Walker. I think he's taken a fair few penalties. I don't think he's missed any, if I'm not mistaken. He's pretty good penalty taker, but yeah, he could also sewn up defensively as well. Switch 4-4-2, move Saka to wing on left and play Watkins and Kane up front. Yeah, go back to the old-fashioned 4-4-2 way. Unfortunately, you leave yourself in a dilemma then. If you play Bellingham and Foden, where do you put Rice?
Yeah.
That formation wouldn't work. Not with the squad we've got.
That's the problem, isn't it? That he hasn't changed the tactics or the formation to fit the players we have got.
They could play a 3-5-2. You could play a 3-5. You could play a 3-5-2. So you could have Kyle Walker, Stones, and Gay. You could have Saka play as a wing back because remember he has played he played left back, but he has played as a wing back before.
Yeah.
You can then use either use Eze or Trippier on that left hand side. And then you got your three in midfield. So you got Rice in the middle, who could drop to a 6 if needed better defensively. Bellingham and Foden, but up top you've got Harry Kane to be the false number 9 to shield the ball off, hold down play, and then you got Ollie Watkins, or even better, Ivan Toney off the last man and just ruthlessly finish off the shot. I should hand him a CV. This is getting stupid now.
is though, isn't it? Like for me, like if he was fit, sure, I'd have Shaw on the left and Trent on the right all day long, all day long.
We lose the battle. We lose the battle in midfield consistently.
Yeah.
So make it a 5 midfield, make it a 6 midfield. You can do that. You can change, but just I don't know.
He just doesn't. He doesn't want it, does he?
Nope.
One plan. Shocking. Oh. But yeah, no. Another player we didn't touch on is Mark Gay. He did quite well, didn't he, in that game?
He was one of the better performers. I thought he was very strong defensively. When I saw the lineup, I saw him in. I'm like, I'm not. Hopefully, he's going to be the better replacement for Maguire. I really did, and he did well. It is only against Serbia, so I can't exactly give him too much praise, but I can give him a proper 7 out of 10, a solid performance, I could say, because he didn't really do a lot wrong. He did bring the ball out a few times, and he made a couple of really good blocks to snuff out some Serbian attacks as well. So I think we've done all right. I still think defensively we're vulnerable, which is basically why you got all this firepower. Go get 2, 3, 4 goals, and then you're not gonna be, and then you're not suffering with your very weak defense.
Yeah. I totally agree. Like, I don't think he was anything above a 7, but I think for his first year game in the Euros, I think he was quite assured. I like him. I've always said that to you. I do like him as a centre back. I think I'd rather go with him than Harry Maguire because it gives us a bit of scope in terms of moving forward into the World Cup, and I think he'll make that position his own. But yeah, I totally agree. I think he was a 7 out of 10. But I do think that naturally, I think there's going to be a lot of focus.
Oh dear! Oh dear!
Jesus.
Oh my God!
I do think there's going to be a lot of focus on him, and it'd be interesting to see what happens to him after the Euros. Because if he performs the way he did on Sunday, I think Palace going to have a job keeping him.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The Palace boys, like we know, Liam, they said that, he might be out in the summer. He's not got back into the squad, has he? Because Anderson's took place, really, because he's been injured. So, but surely you'd want to keep hold of him, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, I think they definitely would like to keep hold of him. But I think if the right money comes in now, I suppose if you're Steve Parish and Crystal Palace, they're probably loving this situation because obviously that transfer fee is shooting up every time he plays well for England, isn't it? So a player that probably would have cost 60, 70 million, what does he cost now? But when you look at Harry Maguire went to Manchester United for 80 million, I have to ask you.
But I reckon whoever was in charge of that of that buy, I had a case of Stockholm syndrome at that point because I don't think, Maguire was a decent defender, but it wasn't like, it wasn't. He was perfect for Leicester because of their style of play. They were always playing counter-attacking football, but defensively he was very sound. The problem was when you go to a bigger club like Man United, they play more expansive than that. You're not used to playing out from the back. You're not that sort of defender too. And I just think over time, he's just got worse and worse. Now, when he plays for England, on the other hand, he just seems to turn into prime Sol, the white version of Sol Campbell. he's just good. I was going to say Tony Adams, but he's the dad I never had, so I can't say that. But yeah,
how much would you have said before the Euros? You'd think you'd go for? I think 50,
45, 50,
yeah.
So I suppose even they could get up to 70, they'd be laughing, wouldn't they? Really, if you've been totally honest. But I think there will be a lot of scrutiny. You can see Chelsea wanting him back. Typical Chelsea, that kind of calibre.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think obviously we've touched on probably the good performances of England. We've touched on obviously the poorer performances of England. So I think we covered that quite well. Obviously, just looking back at a game prior to that, though. Scotland.
Oh dear.
It was always going to, like, to be fair to Scotland, it was always going to be tough, weren't it, playing the host in the first game? I think probably a lot of Scots got a little bit ahead of themselves in terms of thinking they could potentially get a draw against Germany. Not really looking at what Germany have got in their team and the talent they've got in their team. Do we think Germany are serious contenders now for the Euros?
Yeah. I'm not going to go hard on that because it is Scotland at the end of the day. I do think that Scotland were not prepared for this. This is their first time they've been in a major tournament since '96, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
since '96. So for them, it feels like more like learning experience for them.
Yeah,
and I kind of looked at this group. They go like the Germany game, probably going to lose that game. Switzerland, probably going to lose that game. Hungary, they might get a win against Hungary. You don't know. But I just feel like they were not prepared. And when you do face Germany with the 12th man, that's an impossible task. It is an impossible task. Germany played so good from the first whistle. And yeah, I think Scotland they just got found out at the wrong time. Baptism by fire, shall we say? In that.
They didn't do themselves any favors, did they? Look at the red card, the penalty. It's just craziness. And then second half, what was it? They didn't even come out with a striker. They tried damage limitations, but that didn't seem to work. It seemed all prepared wrong, didn't it? Like he G'd them up for like a cup final where they just didn't show up. Literally didn't show up. Every one of the players. It's quite disheartening because obviously, well, it's not disheartening because I'm English, but it was funny to see, like, literally at 8 o'clock they're all cheering, and then by 8:10 they're all crying. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, none of the Scots that I was walking down city centre in Glasgow, none of them were getting irate or upset about it. I think I did actually speak to a couple of guys, and I goes, "What was the final score?" And he goes, "You're English." I said, I'm being sincere here. I'm not taking the piss. I'm being sincere here. And he basically said, "We lost 5-1, mate." I was like, "Ouch." How did you have a player sent off or something? He goes, "Yeah, in the first half." I was like, "Oh, thanks." Well, I said, "Good luck in the rest of the tournament." And he goes, "Yeah, fine, not a problem." Scottish people are actually really nice as long as you approach them in the correct way. That's all I would say.
Yeah, don't rub their faces in it, basically.
Yeah,
no. I was on my own as well in Scotland as well, so I wasn't going to do anything completely egregious.
No, for me, obviously, I think Scotland are very limited, isn't they, in terms of like the quality they've got? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think them getting to a tournament like this is an achievement in itself. I think it was unfortunate they drew Germany first game. I think they did totally underestimate it. But I think that's just being patriotic. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you can't sit there and go, "Yeah, we're going to go and get a thump first game," because what's the point of turning up? So I totally do get that, but I do think that obviously their limitation was absolutely exposed on Friday night. Now, I don't think they'll beat Switzerland either. I think Switzerland will probably beat them 2-0 tomorrow, and that'll be probably pretty much it for Scotland in terms of their participation of progressing. But I don't think I should get disheartened by it whatsoever. I think it's an achievement, to be fair, to get into another tournament. It's not easy for nations like Scotland. Even when you look at Ireland, look at Republic of Ireland now. Do you know what I mean? Even Wales, like, you can't just get away with 2-3 players anymore, and expect to just get into these tournaments. So you do need a little bit of luck, don't you, on the way, and unearth some absolute gems. I think Wales got away with it with Bow and Ramsey for quite a while, but I do think it's hard for these home nations. So I think, yeah, they've got to where they're going to get to, basically. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I do expect Switzerland to probably win 2-0 tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, I do. I think Switzerland win quite comfortably. Just is 1-1 now. I think Jesus message. Own goal, so Portugal level. Also, Liam Kermit's in.
Here he is. The Kermit is in the house. How you doing, mate?
Well,
Yeah, so I'm just looking at other teams. Obviously, we spoke about France. Obviously, I know it weren't convincing, but they've got the job done as well. So Spain, they started well. But typical Spain, though, isn't it? They always seem to do pretty well in the group stages, and but yet again, I think the question with them is when it comes to playing against a top nation, have they got the backbone to progress to the back end of the tournament? What's your thoughts on Spain, Cole? Do you think that they could be contenders?
They've got a very good squad. The way they just dismantled Croatia. I know Croatia are an aging team, but they were always a team that they're like the spot on your back you just can't quite get to, can't quite itch. It's just annoying. They're just there. But the way Spain just dispossessed of them was pretty sound. The Italy one was they only managed to beat Albania 2-1, which actually surprised me. I thought they'd win a lot more comfortably, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
And the last time that we played Italy, we smacked the hell out of them. They were awful. I don't know how good this Italy team is now, but they got the job done. But we'll find out on Thursday night because it'll be Spain versus Italy, and that'll be a game I'm really, really looking forward to watching.
That would definitely be a game that would kind of give us a bit of scope in terms of where both teams are at. As well. So, yeah, that is a game to look forward to. So there's a good Thursday night we've got coming up in terms of games. Obviously, Portugal 1-0 as we talk now. Do we feel that Portugal can go far? Like they got the players, didn't they? They've got quite a lot of players, really good players. Do we feel though that Ronaldo potentially? That maybe, like in terms of him in the team, can it cost him at times? Because obviously the age he's at, but also the work probably the other 10 players got to do, or the other 9, I'd say.
That's the problem, isn't it, with Ronaldo? He's the age now, and the way he plays, it's like you're playing with 10 men, isn't it? It's like a passenger. But to be fair, to counteract that, what a passenger to have. You know, if you do get an opportunity, a header in the box, a free kick, a penalty, he's probably the most assured finisher to pop that away. I'm surprised actually that they're drawing tonight. I thought they would win that quite comfortably well.
I had them down on my list for work as a 4-0 win over Portugal, just to appease my boss so I could get an extra day off. But that ain't gonna happen. But I look at the lineup right now, and their lineup is ridiculous. They got Diego Costa, Ruben Diaz, Pepe, Nuno Mendes, Diego Dalot, Vitana, Bruno Fernandes, João Cancelo, Rafael Leo, Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously, and Bernardo Silva. That's just your start. That is just your starting 11.
Yeah,
I haven't even got to the bench. Where have they got? Who have they got? Samada, João Paulinho, Gonzalo Ramos, João Felix, Danilo Pereira, João Neves, Matthew Nunes, Ruben Neves, Diego Jota, Antonio Silva, Pedro Neto, and Francesco Conceição, who was a pain in the arse for us in the Champions League.
Yeah,
that's their squad. It's ridiculously talented,
and that's what interests me. Like when we talk about England apparently being the so-called favourites, then I look at that Portugal team and I sit there and think, do I really fancy England to go 1-on-1 against that Portugal team? If it comes down to a midfield battle, for me, Portugal will get a win that midfield battle with the players they got.
If Portugal were a designer brand, they're a boss.
Yeah.
They are boss. They are just dripping. With England, it's a bit like you think it's boss, but it's actually knocked off from a freaking Egyptian stool for like actually the 10 Egyptian pound or something. I don't know. It's fake.
I do think that you really want to try and keep away with Portugal as much as possible, really, don't you? But
the other side. Well, I would say lucky on the other side of our group. The problem is that there was a good chance we could play if we do top the group. There was a good chance we could play the third placed team in a certain group if they got the highest amount of points. Please, Portugal get there. Oh, Jesus.
Do you think Ronaldo should be starting?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, do you generally think Harry Kane should start?
Ronaldo, isn't it? I don't know.
It's Cristiano Ronaldo. If you don't have him in the team, people are just going to kick off.
I think he picked himself, to be fair.
But weren't he not in the team in the Worlds? Weren't he sitting on the bench? I'm sure.
Was he on the bench?
Yeah, I'm sure he was on the bench. So I think he got dropped.
Can't remember.
I don't know. But their manager's Roberto Martinez, and he struggled for Belgium with their golden era. So we'll see what he does this Portuguese side.
I'm gonna have a look. That one's gonna. Yeah, no, it was Cristiano Ronaldo was dramatically dropped for Portugal round of 16 tie against Switzerland at the World Cup in Qatar. Yeah, it come after his angry reaction to being substituted in the final game. So, yeah. Like, are we going to potentially see something like that again? You don't know, do you? If that does happen, could a rift then start within the camp? Because we've seen it. We've seen when Ronaldo is not happy, especially with Manchester United and there as well. What can happen? So that'd be one to watch on, I think. Especially if they don't go and win this game, because I think if they don't go and win this game, which was a game that they expect to win, and something doesn't happen in the next game, questions will start to be asked, won't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're supposed to be one of the top 5 teams in Europe to actually win this championship. So the fact they don't even make it, it's a fact if they don't even make it out of the group, or certainly don't get past like the round of 16, there's going to be there's going to have to be pandemonia in Portugal.
Cool, yeah. I fully expect them to be fair, but yeah, I'm just interested to see how that one plays out throughout the tournament. Any dark horses so far?
I'm going to go with the obvious one here, and I know this is going to sound incredibly cliche of me. The way Romania just destroyed Ukraine yesterday was actually quite impressive. I don't know any of their squad players.
Yeah,
they do remind me a bit like Iceland in a way, an unknown team. We don't know what they are. We don't know what they're capable of, but they can turn up on their day and they could really cause a few problems. And I think the way they dismantle Ukraine, I think they can get a win over Slovakia. And this Belgium team, I don't know. I've got Belgium to top the group anyway. But after these first round of games I've seen so far, Belgium just don't look impressive to me. It just seems like that aura of what they once had in 2018 is just slowly washing away now. De Bruyne is not the same guy he was. You got the Spanish freaking you got Doku on that right hand side, who is just a speed merchant, and that's just about it. And obviously they've got Trossard there, who was trying to do pretty much everything in that middle of the park. He moved to the 10 to try and do everything, and nothing was working. I look at Romania as a team that could be a really interesting factor. I don't think they're going to go on to win it. I don't think they will go on to win it. But their side of the draw, okay, they've got France on their side of the draw, and they possibly have Portugal. Apart from that, there isn't really a lot else. So I wouldn't sleep on Romania.
For me,
go sorry, Jonzey.
Yeah, I was saying for me, Turkey looked quite good. You know, I've caught up with the highlights quickly this evening. But they were a team before the tournament started that people have said, you know, keep an eye on, especially that kid as well. He's plays for Real Madrid. I think he was out on loan last season. Gula, yeah.
Oh, he scored. Oh my, he is a talented player.
I don't think, like Carl says, I don't think Turkey will go on to win it, but eventually, I feel they can get deep into this competition. They're quite surprising.
Yeah, you don't want to be playing. You know, if you play Turkey, you're going to have a hard game. Like when have you ever played Turkey where it's easy? Do you know what I mean? It's not. But yeah, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with both teams early on. To be fair, I thought Georgia gave themselves good accountability. I thought Turkey obviously did deserve to win the game in the end, but I think they might have a decent run as well. So I think there are definitely two teams identified there, which I definitely watch on.
If the result stands it is with Portugal, Turkey play Portugal next.
That'll be a game as well.
That'll be huge.
And that yet again, that game will show you much about both teams as well.
Yeah. And also that the atmosphere in that stadium, not just with the Georgia fans as well, but the Turkish fans as well. Oh my freaking God. It did feel like a real proper club European night. It was it was loud, it was raucous. While my boy was watching his Paddington in the living room, I had my headphones on watching the game on my phone, and I can hear the screaming on my headphones. I'm like, I got to turn my volume down. This is ridiculous. And then I saw people on my Facebook going, "Is any of the Turkish barbers open today? Or why isn't none of the Turkish barbers not open today?" I was like, "Watch this TV, mate."
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with him. I was really impressed with him. And to be fair, there was a bit of a fest on the Real Madrid guy prior, but he stood up, mate. He did stand up. So yeah, bloody hell, Real Madrid next year are going to be pretty tasty, aren't they?
Very, very
going to be pretty tasty indeed.
The equivalent to the Harlem Globetrotters. They're just going to be that freaking yeah.
So Cole, just obviously a quick question I asked the guys last week in terms of obviously standout player of the tournament. Who can you see being contenders for standout player of the tournament?
After coming what I've seen so far? Or is this for England or is this just in complete general?
Just in general, the Euros.
For me, so far for me, I'll probably say Mbappe. Every time I watch him play, he's just the finished product. He does remind me a bit of Messi. He reminds me a little bit of Ronaldo. He has that arrogance about him. If you want me to go a little bit more of a different view, I would probably say Musiala from Germany. The way how he controlled that midfield. Okay, it was only against Scotland, but the way he absolutely controlled the midfield was absolutely fantastic. And I will give Jude Bellingham a shout, actually. G's spot on. I will give Jude Bellingham a shout as well, because what he done against Serbia was really, really good, even though it felt like a little bit uninspiring for the rest of the team. But everything ran through Jude Bellingham in that game. So it's probably three I would put out there right now.
I think in terms of obviously players that I've been looking at the moment, I think Jude Bellingham's well up there for me. Like you, he really impressed me on Sunday. It's his commitment that impressed me, because when you're that good, sometimes you lose that bit of commitment. Not in. Like, he was coming back doing sliding tackles, winning the ball back, doing everything that you wouldn't really expect from a number 10 as such. I thought he was unbelievable. And I just think that if we are to go far in this tournament, he's going to be the reason why. And I don't think we've seen nowhere near the best of him on Sunday either, if I'm being totally honest. I do want to give a shout out yet again to Declan Rice. I think if he continues to do what he does in this tournament, I hope he gets recognised for it. Because sometimes when you play in that number 6 role, you don't always get recognised it. But what we're looking at Declan Rice now is a world-class midfielder. And this is a different Declan Rice too, probably the one that obviously got to the Euros in 2021. Declan Rice was a very up and promising player who was in the team by merit, but was nowhere near playing to the level he's playing at now. Now that's down to West Ham, what they've done with him, and obviously the success that he had there. But I just feel that under Arteta this year that he's progressed to a different level. And I just thought, yet again, I thought he was unbelievable on Sunday. And I just hope, if he continues like that he gets recognised in this tournament, because he's a good player, but he's also a very good character. And yet again, when you go far in a tournament, you need them kind of players. So I do want to recognise him. But I think the German guy that you said, Musiala, I totally agree. I think he's an absolute fantastic player. Like, we see him last year in the Champions League, last season in Champions League. So it's no surprise whatsoever. But I think if Germany go far, him and the Leverkusen, what's that Leverkusen player?
Yeah, I was going to say Florian Wirtz.
Yeah,
Wirtz.
I think them two. If Germany are to go far, I think you're going to see them two progress in the tournament, and I think they're going to be very much up there. And like you said with Mbappe's Mbappe. I do want to talk about that miss though. How the hell did he miss that?
Yeah,
Like he was like, he's actually human. He's missed it. But there's so many good young players in this tournament. It's refreshing to see. I think this is one of the first tournaments where I'm looking at and I'm thinking there's so many good young players that can come out of this. And do you know what? We're going to probably hit into another era where for the next 5 to 8 years, where some of these players are going to turn into world class acts, and we're going to be lucky to be watching these. And I think this is the start of it.
Yeah. Totally agree. You know, we talk about the young players, but also a shout out to Kante yesterday. He was rolling back the years. He was immense for France yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he was everywhere on the pitch. I know people say, you know, you go to Saudi Arabia when your career's ending or winding down, but it looks like it's done him the world of good. He
covered every single blade of grass.
He was literally rolled back the years.
Yep.
And also, we're speaking about Mbappe. He has broke his nose and has flown back for surgery. So I don't think he's available for the rest of France's group games. I think G was mentioning it here in the comments as well.
He's broke his nose. He's gone back to France for surgery. Oh, stop being such a fucking pansy.
To be fair, it's like a John Cena. It's a John Cena style break. His nose is all bent up. So
Martin Keown broke his nose. He didn't go for surgery, did
Portugal just scored. It's 2-1.
Business has come soon. One nation we haven't spoke about, the Dutch. It weren't totally convincing by them, was it? I know we had James on last week, and he was saying that he doesn't really feel that Holland are at the level at the moment to probably contend at the back end. Do you feel any differently around Holland? Do you think they can go far?
I don't know. I don't think so, to be fair. I think they'll get out of the group as they probably normally do.
I think quarterfinals will be a good run for them. I didn't actually think that they could potentially be like an underdog card, but I'm not so sure. When I look at some of the teams this tournament, I think if they come up against a big team like Germany.
Oh, disallowed.
Offside.
Disallowed offside.
G's disallowed it. You know what G's like on the odd VAR.
Few disallowed goals in this tournament, isn't there? Quite a few. I don't know if they got enough.
I look at that. This is their starting 11 when they beat Poland 2-1. So they had Memphis Depay up top. Yeah, Cody Gakpo, Regindas. If I probably butchered his name, so I do apologise. Xavi Simons, Joey Verman, Jordi Shulton, Nathan Ake, Virgil van Dijk, Stefan De Vrij, and Dumfries. Plus Verbruggen and goalkeeper. Apart from Ake, Van Dijk, and maybe certain degree Cody Gakpo, the rest are just bang average, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Depay's average now. They haven't got a really good striker. Well, they brought on Weghorst, didn't he? And he scored.
Fair play to him, he scored because he was getting. I was on Twitter and everyone was giving him grief. Yeah, I just don't.
But they did have Weghorst, who come on, who scored the winner for them eventually. He took off Memphis Depay, surprise. But their bench was Wijnaldum, Jeremy Frimpong, Weghorst, Mickey van der Ven, De Ligt, Daley Blind.
There's some decent players on that bench, though, isn't there, to be fair?
How's Frimpong not playing?
Your guess is as good as mine.
There's some decent players on that bench. I just don't. I just like even people like Cody Gakpo. We see it at Liverpool. He's hot and cold, isn't he?
Yeah, very.
He's hot and cold. Is he going to go and win them a tournament? Not for me. Do you know what I mean? But
no, I think he will.
I think they get if a quarterfinal plays, they get further quarterfinal. I think it's been a good tournament for them.
Yeah, totally agree. It's strange, isn't it? I don't know about you guys, but I always hold kind of a soft spot for the Dutch. You know, I think growing up with the likes of Van Basten.
Dennis Bergkamp, isn't it? It's Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah.
He ain't just Dennis Bergkamp. Like, do you know, the first player I remember was Marco Van Basten.
Yeah, that goal.
What a player that guy was. Like, if you're too young and you haven't heard of Marco Van Basten, I suggest get on YouTube and just watch some clips of him.
I wasn't born when Marco Van Basten was around, but Johan Cruyff was the first Dutch player I ever got introduced to, and I'm like, oh wow, this guy had this guy had technical ability like no one else. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's the unbelievable Dutch
They've
player.
always had teams, haven't they? They've always had the Seedorfs, the Davids, the Overmarses.
Yeah.
The De Boer brothers. Do you know what I mean?
The Boer brothers, yeah. They were a nightmare to deal with. Yeah, I do like Denmark, but my soft spot has always been Italy. Maybe because that's their culture, maybe because I like Italian food, or maybe it's because I have been to a couple of games in Italy before. I have been to a Milan derby before. I think I was about 18 at the time. So I was like, I want to go to a big derby game. Shall we go Milan? Let's go Milan. So I went to an AC Milan derby against Inter. I've never had an experience like it. It was... You thought the North London derby makes it sound like a freaking choir practice. It was war of nutrition. But I love Italy. I actually adore Italy. But yeah,
I don't share your passion for Italy. All they give me is bad memories. Memories. Like, honestly, I think we beat them, didn't we? In a cup. Was it the qualifier? No, did we get them in the qualifiers?
No.
We beat them 3-1 recently, and it must be.
I think it was qualifier. Qualifier. Yeah.
I think it's the first time, right? I remember us beating Italy. Like, we never beat Italy. They always seem to get a result, and that's what the Italians are so good at, isn't they? They're so good at getting a result. Like, it doesn't matter how good they are or how not so good they are. If they need to get a result, they'll get a result. So, when they come to the Euros finals at Wembley, they came and got the result.
2-1 Portugal. They have scored it. It is legit now. Conte sour.
Business has resumed. Yeah. But they just always get the result, and fair play to them. They do it. Like, you will sit there and you think, we'll sit there after the first game, we'll discount Italy, but you can never discount them.
Nah,
don't be surprised you can find them in the semi-finals. Do you know what I mean? And that's just what the Italians do. So, yeah, I don't share the same passion, only because they've given me some bad memories over the past World Cups, Euros. We never beat them.
Shocking. They're just a team, like you say. They always find a way, don't they? Always find a way to be in and about it.
You got to admire it in some ways. Look what he did. Don't get me wrong; it's probably one of the worst moments, wasn't it? Sedan getting sent off.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing, though, didn't he, Matt Ratzi?
It's a results orientated business, isn't it? Yeah. Like, if he was taking a penalty, potentially they never would have lost it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, you got to win ugly.
Yeah, you do indeed. Just ask.
So yeah, look, I think that's pretty much covered. Obviously, the games coming up. Just going to get some score predictions before obviously we close down. We have decided, by the way, guys, because the football chat was so good, that we're going to leave the segments. We've enjoyed that. We've enjoyed the chit chat. So, Jonzey, I'm going to go to you first. Thursday, what are you going for?
I'll go for 3-0.
It's a bit tighter on that.
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I'll say 3-0 because I think we should go out and batter them. But then, if I put my Southgate hat on, it'll probably be a 1-0. And, we'll get like a 88th minute goal. Something like that. I don't know, with England at the moment, they're so hard to predict. But heart says 3-0, head says 1-0.
Tony's going 3-2 England. So you can only have one choice. G's going for a 2-1 England. Carl, what are you going for?
2-1 England.
I'm going to go 2-0.
Okay.
I'm going to go 2-0 England, Kane and Foden.
He's got to have a shot on target.
They bloody owe us, don't they? They bloody owe us. As I said, like, for me, you want to be getting Saka, Kane. I ain't worried about Kane if he scores or not, because he will score goals. You want to get Bellingham, Saka, and Foden scoring goals and setting up goals. Do you know what I mean? Early in the tournament, get the confidence going. Would love a rice banger. Would definitely love a rice banger.
Been too long since he scored for England, isn't it? Old Declan.
Yeah, he had one disallowed, didn't he, a few months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So yeah, cool. Obviously, just want to thank everyone for coming into the show tonight. I'm obviously, especially G and Tony, been on it all night. Thanks very much, guys. Loving the impact. I hope you have a good holiday, G. We'll catch up soon when you get back. Get you on the show. Firstly, I'm going to go over to you, Cole. Obviously, thank you for coming on, mate.
No, thank you very much, Liam. It's much appreciated. Really is much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Cheers, matey. Always welcome on whenever you're free. And Jonzey, thank you very much, mate. Obviously, doing a lot of work in the background today, obviously, with the show. Apologies with the segments, but we got them all lined up for the start of next week.
Yeah, don't worry. This is fine, mate. Honestly, whenever you need some help, I can be doing it. But yeah, we've got some segments coming up. Also, just to let you know, wrestling show tomorrow night. Me and Carl will probably be on that tomorrow, so you'll see our beautiful faces again to come and join us. Everything about Clash of the Castle and a special Monday Night Raw. I won't spoil nothing.
No, don't. And I just want to say, even though the porridge list wasn't done this week, Gareth Southgate, Phil Foden, Harry Kane, you was on it. Do better. You do better. But yeah, no, obviously, thanks for obviously that, Jonzey. We'll look forward to seeing that show go up tomorrow night. Also on Thursday, obviously, Ryan will be back for the watch along against England and Denmark at 5 p.m. I will be jumping on for that. Hopefully the weather's nice and I'll be back in the bar. Drinking a few beers. So hopefully to another England win, and hopefully we'll progress to the next round of the tournament, and hopefully we can rest some players for the last game. But yeah, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your Tuesday evening, and see you all soon. Good night.
Good night.